Okay, hello and welcome here to a world premiere. Wanted to reach out to you guys today and bring you in and have you involved in a Zoom. This is the first Zoom, so give yourselves a hand because this is my first time here with you. We're not going to present any video today, just given the circumstance. I hate to start this way, but we did take a little loss in the family. So it has been an eventful week, and this is still an exciting time because for every setback is a setup for a comeback. And it kind of ties into what we're talking about today, which is the idea that everybody has an idea. So if you took the time out of your busy schedule today to be here, I want you to just pat yourselves on the back, give yourselves a hand. I want to provide a ultimate thank you. I know how important uh, maintaining your current roles and position in life can be. Um, I'm right there with you. And I just appreciate you guys taking the time to have a conversation that may start off and feel very basic and rudimentary, but what I've learned and noticed is that it's necessary. Okay. So we'll jump right into it. Right now, I am getting a presentation ready for you guys, and we're going to share some ideas and some thoughts here. Okay. So, like I say, we all have ideas, right? We all have ideas, especially when it comes to business, starting a business, or sometimes it's not even a full up business that we want to start. We just have this great idea, this thingamajig that we want to see in force. We don't even think about the profits that could come of it. We just want to make an impact, right? And I don't know about you guys, but I've been there. That's how we began this company here, a world premiere. This company began as Gene Curation, a world premiere. Gene Curation, short for Jingles and Content Curation. And that was before the true content curators came out, the individuals who are there day in and day out, who are entertaining us every day, posting information, posting entertainment, funny laughs, you name it. A world premiere takes a different spin, focusing on the idea, right? The marketing that goes behind it and the public relations tied into it, meaning taking your idea from thought to product, putting it in front of the right audience, and then maintaining the image and relationship therefore. So I want to ask who here has an idea they haven't acted on yet? A lot of us, right? Exactly. Because ideas come all the time. Ideas are, they cost us nothing. Ideas are, just a thought, right? We think about millions of things throughout the day, all day. Some of us, our brains laying dormant, and we don't think about anything throughout the day, but we all have ideas, and the difference is just what we do with them. And that's how most of us come up with startups, right? We think about a problem and we say, my idea could be a solution to that. And we jump right in. And there it is. We have a multi-million dollar business. So today, I want to take the time to delve into ideas and talk about some of the nuances and opportunities that come with having just a simple thought. Okay. So, first, we want to talk about the universal truth about ideas. And the truth is, everybody has an idea. Okay. Um, Everybody has something to bring to the table. And that's the first thing I want to start with. I know there's some people who may be watching that feel like they don't belong. I've had a few conversations this week as a new, slightly experienced trader in the foreign currency exchange markets. I've tried to share the information with some individuals, and I had an idea that if we could learn this as a group, we could easily 10x our monies and maybe make an impact in some of the things that we're trying to do, some of the initiatives, whether that be financial or educational. We even have some creative things going when it comes to music creativity. Um, I felt as though we should do it. Everybody has an idea, right? Um, and ideas, quote unquote, are cheap. Big quotations around cheap because sometimes it takes time to come up with an idea, okay? And time is something that you just can't get back. So I like the idea that the idea is cheap because it really doesn't take any money. You don't have to go into your wallet to come up with an idea, but your idea may take money to execute, right? Which is why execution becomes rare. Okay. A lot of ideas that we have, they go missing. You have a thought and then you forget it's like having a good dream and you just couldn't remember certain parts of it. And the craziest part is that it was your dream, your idea. You were in control of the whole thing the entire time and you can't even remember. So I want you to note this that even though execution is rare, okay, you need to write your ideas down in a safe place, okay, because they are easy, just as they're cheap, they're easy to go. Things that are cheap go fast. Fast, cheap, and high quality. You can only choose two, okay? So I want to delve into the fact that ideas are abundant because they cost nothing to think, okay? You can come up with something, you don't have to put any money on the table. That's your idea. I remember when I first came up and I said, hey, they have phone cases. Uh, this is a good idea, right? To protect the devices. They start using the polyurethane with the, rubber on the edge of the case to protect it. I thought that was just a great idea. But then I thought to myself, with this being a great idea, an even better idea would be, what if I made my own case? So I started to do the research and I said, oh, we can just order the cases. We can order 100 of them here for about $300, and they'll print whatever we want to print on them. So I start going around to friends and acquaintances saying, hey, look, you have artwork. Hey, look, I know you have this brand. And then I even went to some, non-for-profit, non-copyright options and said to myself, yeah, I may as well go ahead and utilize some of these images, right, to give a more neutral stance. And we put those on phone cases for $3. We paid per case. We designed it and we sold everything $20 per case. I kid you not, at least $1,000 we brought back within 30 days on the phone cases. I thought that was just a great idea. It cost me nothing to bring it up. It cost me $300 to get it going, and I was able to make two, three times my money within a month. That was a great idea. Okay. The world does not reward ideas, it rewards applied solutions. And that is how we came across that. So don't think just because you have a good idea that you are supposed to get paid. No, it's going to take some work. If you believe in what you're doing and you think it could solve a problem, then you have to go out and put nail and hammer together to build something secure and abundant. Most people stop at thinking because action does introduce risk. I recognize that making the phone cases was really good, but when I looked at my partner, I had just put her in a position where we were working with a communications company. So, how are we going to be working for a communications company skilled in tasks to not only solve customer problems, but also provide and upsell additional, accessories? And then here it is. We've got our own phone cases that we want to sell with no idea and the time to create a contract to maybe subcontract the cases to them. Okay. It was brand new. It was something that all the cases came in a bag while our competition had their cases pre-boxed and, put with barcodes and just ready to sell. We did not have all those things. We didn't have that idea at the time. The idea that I had was to create phone cases leveraging the artwork of individuals around me. So it can be a risk, right? Because now we're coming into a non-compete risk where we are already working in the industry. How is this going to grow and evolve? And this is when ideas meet reality. An idea is simply defined as an abstract concept, a plan, a piece of information that can be developed and explored further. That's simply what an idea is. And that's what we do here at a world premiere. We delve into ideas. We take the abstract concept, sometimes more built out and design engineered further than what we anticipate, which is good, but that just allows us to get closer and put more time into the plan. The information that can be developed and further explored. And our goal is to make sure that our clients are excited about their ideas. Because ideas, although are cheap, sometimes are hard to come by. We lose them and we can't get them back. We have to wait for the next one. Time is valuable. So ideas may cost nothing, but the time cost is intangible. So excitement is driven by diving into the thrill of the idea, unleashing creativity surrounding the idea, exploring the additional ideas that come from it. We say, let your imagination soar, feel the excitement, and build. Embrace the adventure and discover endless possibilities. So, even though you have an idea and you thinking, oh, this will be great to solve a problem within healthcare, think beyond the market of hospitals and doctors. And what about just the personal need of the patients right in their own homes? A lot of times when we try to transition idea from a small scale to a large scale, which is the inverse of what we just described. So that would be going from at home with the patient, we find a solution, but now we want to take it into the hospital. We're going to hit resistance. I'll share a story with you. I was doing some Uber one day and I was speaking to an individual. He works with a cancer association, and they have strategic goals or a strategic plan, which is the strategic goal. And that could be something along the lines of doubling the amount of patients we see within a certain time period. Now, the resistance to that may be that individuals are seeking treatment from other locations. So, or individuals get a diagnosis and they don't agree with what was heard. So now they must go seek attention to the next location. Or individuals just don't believe that they can be helped based on the information that's been provided about their health. Resistance is defined as turning ideas into reality, and then the skill and personal professional spheres begins clearing vision, and it defines a goal. And next thing you know, you begin to plan, break things down, put actionable steps together. It is the barriers of entry into creating an idea, hypothesis, plan, whatever you want to call it, right? What you think your idea could be. It's all of the naysay. It's all of the no's. It's all of the individuals that don't believe in you. That's what we call resistance. It's putting all of your time and money into something and feeling as though you have hit a plateau. That is your resistance. Learning how to break through. Like I say, I'm a new trader, uh, getting more serious with it. And we talk about resistance and support. Resistance being at the very top when you push farthest you can go and you may need some additional help. Or support being at the very bottom where you've done nothing or you've done so much that you fell back down and now you need a little push from the bottom. So ideas meet reality when resistance meets hard work. So I'm encouraging you to think about your current idea and evaluate it from a point of where you may be struggling. What have you done so far that has worked, that has put you to a new level, and you feel like you're beginning to plateau? And what have you done that truly is just not enough? What are your barriers to entry? What's stopping you from getting this thing going? I remember when I first started Gene Curation, one of the biggest things that stopped me was people did not believe in the idea of a jingle. Another thing that slowed me down was that when I shared my ideas with individuals, they would just take the idea instead of working with me directly or booking a call with me or putting a deposit and just allow me to leverage the technology and resources that I already have for the audio and visual. We had a whole plan, visual marketing partner. They would just jump right in. Okay. Or I knew that I would need somebody next to me, or I wanted to create a larger margin. So I would bring a professional with me to take care of one part of the job. If I'm coming to do the audio, I'll bring a videographer with me. But the client would say something along the lines of, hey, look, man, we trust that you can do this by yourself. And in order to not lose the contract, now we're hitting a wall of resistance where we want to bring in a secondary subcontractor to do some work, but we have to let them go. These type of things put us in a position where the business begins to slow down potentially. You start creating bad relationships accidentally. This is when your idea has finally met reality. This is the risk that we just discussed. Remember what we said? There is a risk in putting action in place, which is why most people just stop at the idea. But that's not you. That may be you right now, but that's not who you are. That's not who you embody. You have a greater purpose. So you may be in a place where it's time to refine your idea, right? The reality is you went out there, you put foot to ground, you've came up with something, you've tried your quote unquote best. I'm always going to put quotations around things that can be challenged or subjective. So you put your quote unquote best out there, and now you're in a place where you've taken a step back from your idea because you don't believe it's a good idea anymore. You think the time has passed because you've seen five people do it, but what you don't realize is that those five people only represent 2 to 3% of the world. Your idea hasn't even reached ground in other places yet. So it might be time for you to bring it back in refinement. It says here that we never give up. Instead, we find ways to reinvent ourselves and evolve. Adversity becomes a catalyst for innovation, promoting us to explore new paths and adapt our strategies. Each setback is an opportunity to learn and grow, pushing us to reach new heights. You've got to have some kind of drive for this to mean something to you. Ideas may come easy, but work is hard. To get up every day, to be consistent, to be persistent, to embody discipline, that's not easy. And we're talking about the refinement of your idea, but right now we might be talking about the refinement of self. We all go through it. I know I went through it, me personally. I had to sit down and question myself and ask my why. Why are you starting this company? Why are you still pursuing to make music with individuals? What is it that you want to achieve or accomplish by putting yourself in this arena? Who is this going to help? Will your children benefit from what you're doing? These are all the questions, and they solidify my why. I was watching Instagram one day. I was watching a reel, and it said, "Imagine you have a catalog, a large catalog, and your kids listen to it when they get older, and they say, 'Wow, Dad, man, you have some kid music. What happened? Why didn't you never put this out?'" And you have to tell them that you gave up. And once I heard that, that was enough to spark me to say, listen, you got to follow through on your ideas and your commitments. Me personally, being a spiritual man, I feel like ideas come from God. So when you have a good idea, recognize that it's being given to you. It's a real thing. And when ideas put into your mind, God is anticipating that you take it and do something with it. First, write it down, like we discussed, because the Bible tells us to take it and write it down so a herald can run with it. Herald being an individual who has the ability to 10x it, to share it with a friend or family member, to be able to bring life into it even when you cannot. So we start with an idea. An idea turns into an action. So let's put it in real life. Okay, let's come up with a new idea. I got an idea. What if we make a car um, that runs off of our own physical energy, but at the same time give us energy like as if we had coffee in our bodies? That seems like a pretty good idea. It will save us time, it will save us money. We can recycle our own energy because it takes so much for us to drive to and from that by the time we get there, we're beat up, we got jet lag. What if there was a car that when we got in, we got out feeling better than how we got in? And the action would start off with research. We would have to immediately go and discover how this could be possible. We recognize the friction. The friction is cars currently run off of gasoline, combustion, engines. There's so many components to get a car going. And if we weren't Fred Flintstone, then what would we do? Right? Because that's a whole different type of friction right there. And I don't see how we're going to get a lot of energy from doing that. Maybe over time, right? Working out, but we're not going to get energy immediately. So once we get there and we realize there's just too much friction in our idea, we might have to make an adjustment. And a lot of us may be there in our ideas today. It's time to rethink what it is that we've put on the table. And that's how we came up with a world premiere. We start off with gene curation, where we wanted to write jingles and create content, but with the time that it took and the friction that came from ownership and having these conversations with partners, we decided it's better just push into a world premiere where we focus less on the production of content because it's all out there and focus more on helping people evolve in their ideas, helping people plan and bring their ideas to life. And that's how our world premiere came about because we wanted a better outcome. And for a better outcome, sometimes we have to come up with a better idea. So that's what we did around 2024. And now we're here in 2026 where we have been able to touch multiple companies, work with multiple partners, and consult them in what a better idea could be. So once you get to this step, which some of you may be, right? If you're in forward motion, because there's motion, then there's momentum, and we'll discuss it. But those who are in forward motion, you may be at the better idea stage where you realize that you had an idea, you took action on it, you've run into some brick walls, and now it's time to adjust what you initially started and come up with a better idea because that's pretty much what comes up with it, right? Once you do that, you just repeat the cycle. You got to start over again because now you got a better idea. So now you got to come with more disciplined action, right? Execution gives you new information. So now that you've done this, you have new information that you've created a better idea, and that information is going to reshape the idea. Now, most people quit at friction and not failure. The idea did not fail. You're not in a place where it did not work. You're in a place of friction where you're not in agreement or someone's not in agreement with you and you got to pick up your bags and keep rolling. There are over 100 billion people in the world. So sometimes we need to take the time to lean into that. That one person, that one network, that one group, friends and family, that's one niche. It didn't work there. You ran into a little friction. What is the adjustment? We may need to go ahead and move outside of our community. After that, we may end up having to move outside of our city or state. I've seen individuals have to take their business international because, well, the money is just not giving how it could be. And that was their brick wall. So, this is the real cycle of an idea. Understand that things can get real. Now, this brings us to what kind of mindset you have to have when you are embodying ideas. Because your idea is not your mindset. Your idea is a subset of the mindset that you are required to maintain. See, sometimes we get an idea and we want people to care about it so much. People aren't going to care. People are not in a position nowadays to sit down and listen to what you have to say because most times, 9 times out of 10, they have their own things that they're dealing with. You may bring an idea to individuals like family or friends, and they're going to doubt. They're dealing with their own traumas, their own failures. They have their own ideas, and why should they put into yours, but they haven't even put into their own? Plus, they don't even believe in it. They don't think it's going to amount to anything. Now, some individuals are going to support you quietly. That's the simple repost on Instagram. They never really get involved. They don't purchase your product. They don't reach out and ask you how things going. They just watch. They watch. They're on every story. So they give you a view. They're trying to help the algorithm, but realistically, their lack of engagement inadvertently hurts you. Some people are going to support you only after you get results. And for those of us who have not seen results on certain ventures, well, we haven't seen the support either. And that could be a frustrating thing. So, what I would say is for the people who don't care, you got to find a group of people who do. You got to go out, you got to search, you got to look them in the eyes, you got to tell them about what you're doing. You have to show them that you're passionate, and that means you have to believe in what you're doing for yourself. You may get an idea, it doesn't necessarily mean you believe in it. It's just a good idea that came across. Then the people that are doubting, sometimes it's not even worth it to show them uh, that this is what it is. You just have to keep doing your thing. The people who support quietly, you have to engage them because they're there, they're present. So if you see 10 people watch your story and well, you've got an initiative. For example, right now we're working on a 3XM laundry detergent. You can find us at THREEXM on Instagram. And it's a small batch detergent we make right at the home. And it's really good for individuals who have sensitive skin or who just want to replace their detergent with something that doesn't come from the big guys, right? Something that is homegrown, that's right in your backyard. And many people are supporting it quietly, but not a lot of orders are coming in. I recognize that with this detergent, I want to be in a position where I have 100 different salesmen bringing in 100 different clients throughout the year, one by one, right? So that way we can provide most of the monies to the individuals working with us, because that's a good idea. Help people meet their ends. We don't need a whole bunch of money off the front end because, well, if we got 100 people and we just make 10, 20, 30% of what they're doing, 30% is a magic number, by the way, 30 for 30, then the other 70% that they take or that cost take, we're totally fine with that. We're totally fine. So if they take 30, we take 30, and 20% go to cost, we can take 20% towards reward. The idea is that we have to engage individuals into what we're thinking about. The mindset cannot be sit back and judge and be upset. The mindset has to be somebody saw it. So since somebody saw it, somebody needs to hear about it. Keisha saw it. So I'm going to reach out to Keisha and see if she's ready to leverage her network. I'm sure Keisha was struggling. She just asked me for $25 last week. It only makes sense that I reach out to her and tell her that, hey, just with 3 sales, she can be up $30, $5 above what she needed. And she can do that within the hour. Some will support only after results. So sometimes it takes Keisha, Paul, and Reginald to get involved. But I'll tell you now, expecting Keisha, Paul, and Reginald to get involved is putting yourself in debt emotionally. It's going to alter your mindset. So you have to be mindful of that. Building in silence is a skill for you to sit back, do it yourself, and just make it happen. We don't talk about the detergent often, but we do sit at home and we build. We test. We run load after load, month after month for 8 to 10 months. Subsequently, we look at the ingredients that we've involved. We think about our mission and our vision, and we take ingredients out and we do our best to stick to the code, which is all natural. But it's very difficult nowadays because the different types of stains, or should I say dirt, that we're experiencing is not natural dirt. Even the food that we get on our garments is not natural food. So that brings us to what we do and how to move when no one is clapping for us. So now that we got our mindset in place, we've got an idea, we put the work in place. We recognize that, well, the work we've put in place has brought us into some roadblocks and some friction. We've reformed this idea. We didn't fight, we didn't fall down in the fight. We kept fighting, we kept going. And now we're in a place where no one is still involved, no one is still engaged. And we say, how do we move when no one is clapping for us? But one of the first things that you're going to feel is that internal conviction, right? Working when no one is watching. That internal conviction is greater than the external applause. When you look and you realize no one's clapping and no one's watching, well, maybe you didn't market it right. Maybe you pushed too hard in the areas or the niches that just weren't your people. I remember I was working with a producer and I explained to him, hey, listen, I want to put out beats, but I really want to put out projects. So maybe I leverage your beats with my network. We'll get my artists that I work with on your beats. Now they're unsigned artists, so it's endless opportunity. And I was told straight verbatim, hey, look, sometimes if you're begging or asking too many times, it seems like it's pushy. It's like a sell pitch. Maybe that's just not your person. Some people just don't want to be sold. That is internal conviction on their own selves, and they projected it back out into external. That is the inverse of an external applause. It's an external rejection. It's the no that you're getting right now based on the ideas that you're presenting. So when you get the internal conviction locked in, you recognize that your understanding of what you're doing and your ability to correct it and put a blinder up, whether someone is watching or not, it fuels you to be able to work when no one is watching. The next thing you have is, well, we'll go with the motivation. Remember, I told you there's motion, then there's motivation. There's motion, then there's momentum. So you have motion, you're doing something, you're posting, you're building, you got a little team, you're studying, you're getting no feedback from others, you're working with internal conviction. Nobody's watching, you don't care because you're watching what you're doing yourself. Now you have momentum, and that momentum is going to beat motivation. That motion with motivation, doing something and being encouraged versus doing something and maintaining the discipline and being consistent, continuing your posts, continuing your team outreach, continuing your studies, not expecting feedback, putting up a barrier against the emotional insecurities and the emotional immaturity, the emotional debt. You got momentum, and that's where you want to be. In that, you can analyze your movements and what you've done, and you can build a system because that system is going to beat how you feel. You may feel though people are not watching, but you wake up, you create, you study, you test, you retry, you get no feedback, but you convict yourself eternally. You create, you post, you're repeating that process. You're working with individuals, you're building. That's your system. And that particular progress starts to make you feel invincible in your idea. So the point is, if you need permission to move, let's just be ready. Maybe you are not ready to, excuse me, let's just be real. Maybe you're not ready to lean into that idea just yet. You're not ready to lead a group of people behind what you came up with. You still need to sit back down and go to the planning stages because the idea is going to become your identity. I was studying this week in the Word of God about the fruits of the Spirit, and it talks about when you have or bear fruit, you can tell who a person is by the fruit that they bear. So whether that be joy, peace, You can tell if a person is experiencing that just by looking at them, talking to them, asking them questions, watching them respond to environmental situations and changes. And when you repeatedly execute, ideas stop feeling special. And that's what it's about. You want to put all these things in place that I'm explaining to you so that way when an idea comes to you, you immediately fall into your system. You don't get caught up in the hype. You're not too excited to go and share it with somebody else. You just get straight down to business. I have lost a lot of momentum and friendship trying to share my ideas with individuals and watching them shut me down. It was given to me for a reason. And no matter how big it could be for us, there are you problems, me problems, and we problems. And sometimes we need to handle them as such. When your idea starts to lead into your identity, you become a builder. You stop being a dreamer. Your dreams become that moment into your reality, the reality of the idea, meaning, hey, there's work that goes behind what I just did. We can either table it, leave it for another day, or we could push forward into it and begin to hit the ground running on it. Identity shift is the real win because you want to go from idea to identity. Now, I know a lot of you guys are thinking, well, hey, my identity is already set. It's not that deep. If I already have my personal identity and then an idea comes, clearly my identity is what made that idea, this and that. That's not true. That's not true because you may come up with a good idea, but I'm pretty sure many of you have came up with a good idea and you've done nothing about it. You haven't acted on it. You know it was $1 billion idea. You didn't even write it down. That's because everybody stops. When you wake up, you stop. You stop dreaming as soon as you wake up. As soon as you leave the idea on the table, you don't write it down, you stop thinking about it. Your system has stopped. Now your identity is being questioned. But that's okay because everybody reaches a point of burnout. When we're going and we have so many different ideas and nothing evolves from it or comes from it, well, we reach burnout. Life happens. We lose money. We lose friends. We lose momentum. We lose interest. We begin to doubt what was placed in our mind by God Himself. But I'm here to tell you to keep going because stopping in a moment doesn't disqualify you, but staying stopped does. So even though you're in a position where you may have had a great idea and you begin to put steps in place, you probably got a ton of different documents and things in your chat GPT and on your hard drives, but you haven't done anything. You need to revisit that last action. Don't go back to your entire vision. I didn't go back to gene curation as a whole and say, okay, well, I still want to make gene. No, I let it go. I recognized that the market wasn't calling for it. I wrote a jingle for a bourbon company and reached out to them. It was probably the best jingle I've ever written. I've written jingles for car dealerships. I've written jingles for feminine products. And when I look over the whole, nothing has matched what the young lady did by her post with Dr. Pepper and was paid $2.2 million. So don't revisit everything, just revisit your last action. My last action was visual marketing partner, recognizing the time deficit that was being taken away, recognizing the friction and the money that individuals didn't want to pay, but people were always willing to have a conversation about what they thought. So, with that being said, now we've had a discussion of your idea. Now we can work together and help each other keep going. I want to keep growing a world premiere. You want to build out a transportation company. So, we will work together. I will leverage my knowledge and my information while you continue to be excited about your idea. And we'll revisit that last action that you were stuck on, that last roadblock revise your idea, and keep moving forward. This allows us to straighten the next step. So that's funny because I'm actually working with a client who is building a transportation company, and the main thing was pricing. Logistics is set up, partnership is set up, excursions are set up, all of the bells and whistles, but the actual price was the most frustrating part for the client. So we were able to sit down and come up with a simple payment plan to go ahead and build out personal price. I did build out price for one of my good friends prior to this, and we call it the 30 for 30, where 30 goes in your pocket for helping me out, 30 goes in my pocket, 20 goes towards the cost. That puts us at 80, and that final 20 is going to go towards reward. Whoever worked the hardest, whoever did something that was above and beyond, the motivating factor, the fuel to the fire. And sometimes cost doesn't even take 20%. If we made 10,000 and we take 20% of it, cost may only have been $200. We made 10,000. That 20% should have put us at least at 2,000, but we've only used 10% of that. So we still have another 90% of our 20, that 2,000, we still have 1,800 available. We put that to the side for next cost. So, and that's called what we call a 30 for 30. So watch that back, play that back, and hopefully it'll help you. But we do these things so we can keep moving. Okay. Now remember, you don't need more ideas. Really, you need fewer excuses and more motion. You're complaining. You're lying to yourself. I know because I was in the place where I sat back and complained about all the different things that didn't allow success to happen in certain places and certain ventures. But what I realized is that I didn't even write that one idea down. I had been sitting on it for so long, I couldn't even remember. It took 3, 4 years to come back, and somebody had already done it, published it, and it's a big deal. For example, written textbooks. That was my idea. I saw the market. I looked up. I knew Ingram Books was the individuals that publish all the textbooks to all the schools, scholastics, you name it. And I recognized that if we could get behind this, then maybe we too could be in a position to benefit off college textbooks. So we began to rent out textbooks mentally in our minds. It was an idea. And that's all it was. It was just an idea. Well, at the end of the day, we didn't do so well because all of the other bookstores and partners with the schools had already leveraged their technology and relationships and capital to turn that idea into a reality. Before you know it, students were reading textbooks and sending them back. And we knew we could do this digitally, but it was never written down and we didn't execute. By the time we did write it down and execute, we ran into friction. We ran into an investor that said that they couldn't understand the financials of how they would get their money back. Remember, identity is the basis of the becoming, who you plan to be in the future and where this idea fits into your overall life goal. You need to write it down. Like I told you from the beginning, this may feel rudimentary, but you're sitting here, you're still listening to me, and you haven't even wrote down the 5 ideas that came across your mind right now. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to write the one idea down, okay? Or at least put one idea per page. Up under that, I want you to identify one action that you can take on this idea within the next 24 to 72 hours. That's in the next day to 3 days. I want you to make a commitment. I want you to pick up the pen and I want you to plan around this idea and I want you to move forward on it without asking any permission. The places where you run into friction or roadblocks, I want you to remember that research is your best friend. Leverage AI, chat GPT. You don't even need any kind of chat partner because when you go to Google, they have chat already built in, artificial intelligence. looking over the entire world web. So utilize these things before they're no longer at your fingertips. Because guess what? Everybody has an idea. And the last thing you want is for an individual to take yours. So if this presentation moved you in any kind of way, I want you to take the time to check us out on Instagram at AW Premier PL. That's a world premiere production logistics. We're happy to sit down and set a consultation with you and discuss the ins and outs of your idea. We're not looking to take your ideas because remember, ideas are cheap. The true action is to be able to act on it, and we want to make that a possibility for you. So if you've been looking for a trusted partner to work with and to discuss with, you found the right group of people. We thank you for your time, and we're wishing you the best in your future endeavors. Signing off.